GM, welcome to what's going to be another fantastic episode of DevNTell. So, if you didn't know, DevNTell is a 30-minute podcast held every week, allowing founders, hackers, and anyone in between the opportunity to come on the show and showcase what they built. And today, I'm ecstatic to welcome Gabriela Moreira, who is the CEO of Quint Co. So, if you didn't know, Quint is a specification language that can be used to describe models and properties, enabling you to write precise specs for your system behavior. So if you stick around for today's episode, you'll get to meet Gabriela, learn all about the Quint specification language, and how you can start using it to build today. All right, let's get into it. GM, welcome to the show, Gabriela. I'm excited to have you on today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, likewise. In this age of AI, we know there's a lot of code being produced and shipped, but not necessarily verified. And who knows what vulnerabilities people are shipping today. So I'm really excited for our audience today to learn about Quint and how they can start using it in their vibe coded builds. But before we get into that, would you just like to give a introduction about yourself?
Yes, for sure. So, I was doing my bachelor's in computer science, started over 10 years ago. And at that time, I was doing some compiler work. I really liked compilers, programming languages, type systems, all that stuff. And then someone introduced me to a language called TLA Plus. It's a formal specification language. And at the time, I was also working in the industry with like web development, distributed systems, databases. And I was like, oh, this thing would be super useful in my job. But also, like, it's so like the syntax is so mathematical and so scary. I doubt anyone in my team would like to use this. So I don't know how like I can introduce this to them. But I fell in love with like formal methods right there, and I got this like passion to okay, we have to make this a little bit better. So it's more like used in the industry because everyone should be using this thing. So I continued working on my job, and then I made a master's about all in this topic of like tooling around formal verification. And then I met this company called Informal Systems, which was doing a lot of Web3 development, founding like the Cosmos blockchain. And they were also like very in formal methods from the beginning and doing a lot of work with TLA Plus. So we met at the TLA Plus conference, and right away, like we're doing like pretty much the same thing, like the same kind of tooling. So naturally, like I started working with them, and that's when Quint was born as well. So my origin story has a lot of intersection with Quint origin story, but that's me. I'm living in Brazil. I was born here. I love the country. I love living here. I have a little cat that might intervene in today's podcast. And yeah, very excited about the World Cup.
I can imagine. We're talking off air. FIFA has taken the world by storm the last little while. So I can't blame me if we hear some cheers once in a while through the podcast. I just want to kind of dig in. You mentioned kind of gravitating towards the crypto scene with the team behind Cosmos. Just curious, what drew you into this space other than that same passion for like formally verifying code?
It's pretty much the same passion, but what I like to highlight about like the intersection of like Web3 and formal verification is like that Web3 is really like the best kind of use case in order to exceed at this kind of thing, because first of all, you have this problem where when you ship code in Web3, it's hard to like patch it. This is also true when you like in rocket launches, right? If you have software within the rocket, within the spaceship, you don't get to like fix it after it's on the air. Same with airplanes. So I think blockchain has that same sort of thing where it's hard to like fix mistakes once they are out there. Second, there is such high incentives for people to exploit problems because the money is right there, right? So like if you find an exploit, that usually means you make money instantly, like you don't have to do anything else. So there's a lot of incentives for exploitation, which means we have more of that asymmetry between attacker and defender. You have to put more effort into making sure code is correct. And third is like by the time I joined, the ecosystem is where the most like money incentive was into like formal methods, right? If basically when I was like starting with formal methods, you would hear like from the like research groups and stuff like, oh, if you want to work in the industry with formal methods, you have to work on blockchain. There's like, or you get like that one job in like NASA or some airplane company, but otherwise it's just blockchain. So that's why I got in. So when I went in, I didn't know anything about blockchain pretty much, and then yeah, kind of like I still don't know a lot, but yeah, I've been to some events, so now I have a bit more context. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and I think you chose the perfect industry to apply formal methods and verification to. The industry needs it, even in today's age, where especially this year, we're seeing lots and lots and lots of protocols being exploited. Whether it's through AI or it's very likely aided through AI. But yeah, I think we're not done yet, but we'll see. Um, I guess for folks who might not be familiar with formal verification and formal methods, could you just give a high level overview of what they are?
Yeah, I can talk about formal methods in general. I forgot to mention in my intro, but I was actually teaching formal methods at university for a year and a half. I'm actually still very involved in the university. I'm very grateful for everything there. And I'm actually going there after this podcast to to watch Tease. I love the university a lot. So getting into a bit of teaching mode for formal methods. And formal methods are basically any techniques that help you verify correctness of code or hardware as well. So software and hardware, but any sort of method. So the most maybe the most basic one we use pretty much every day, or a lot of developers use every day, is type checking. Right? If you have type definitions and you're like running the compiler, and if there's any like thing wrong about the types, the compiler will complain to you. That is doing uh, something that is formal methods, like it's formal verification, because it's checking the correctness properties. Of course, like there's only so much you can express in types, right? They can do a lot. It's very nice. If you learn to use types well, you can do a bunch of nice things. And if you get into really advanced mode, you get into stuff like dependent types, where you can express things about values within the type system and then have proofs that those things hold. It's super interesting. But that's one thing. And then the more there are different types of formal methods, and the most common ones that we talk about today in the industry, when you see people talking about formal verification on Twitter, they usually mean something like either proof assistance like Lean, Coq, which is now Rock, actually. They changed the name. Isabel, etc. Those are proof assistants, and those are tools where you would write mathematical properties of things and then prove they are correct for every single case, for every single like n and m, n plus m equals something, so you're proving something mathematically for every single possible parameter, and then you are going to like inductive proofs, all of that sort of thing that some of us have learned in university. And then the other kind of formal methods, it's a bit more lightweight, is usually what people call model checking, or even I think stuff like constraint solving also fills into that box, where you have some more automated proofing. So you still like write some properties in some way, and then the computer automatically will prove that to you. And that's where TLA Plus falls in, and where Quint falls in. And in the realm of model checking, which is the place I'm studying the most, and I'm find myself in the most time. And model checking is the technique where you have one model of your system, which is a state machine. So you have one initial state, you have a bunch of transitions, and my cat wants to make an appearance. Look, I have a little cat here.
Hello.
Let's remove the cat maybe for maximum focus, if she allows me. There we go. Model checking, you have one model, so initial state and several transitions to define all of the transitions you can make. You have one state machine, that is your model. And then you have properties, any property about the states of those state machine, and about the executions of that state machine. And then you give that to the tool, and the tool tells you either true, the property holds in all cases, or it tells you false. And then it gives you one counterexample, which is like one sequence of states that lead you to the counterexample. So in that case, you don't have any false positives, right? You always have like that exact scenario where the bug happens. So that is summary of formal methods, I guess.
Yeah, and I'm sure you could deep dive into each one of those for a great deal of time. And yeah, as you were explaining it, I was having flashbacks to my university days doing proof by induction and whatnot. So yeah, definitely not a stranger to all of this. Um, and I guess I kind of touched on it a bit throughout the start. But I think formal verification is more important than ever, and I think you'll agree as well, just because of the volume of hacks that we're seeing, and so many new builders in the scene who might not even know what that is or have never touched a programming language in their life, and they're just vibe coding whatever they want into existence, which is cool, but also really kind of scary at the same time, especially if something gets very popular and you get a lot of users. So I guess due to like all the vulnerabilities that we're kind of seeing, especially this year, in your mind, do you think it's just the models are really good at just like exploiting things, or do you think people are just shipping sloppy code, or is it like a mix of both? You think?
I think it's definitely a mix of both, and not even like necessarily an overlap of both. I think they're both happening independently. And I think it's easy to see that if you look at the news and type of things that are getting like hacked, or like if you found bugs and things, right? For instance, like when Mythos came out, they found bugs in like software that's been there for like 20 years, right? That's not vibe coded stuff, right? And still there are bugs in like those things. So definitely, I think the models are good at finding at least like one class of bugs. Um, and then on the other side, there's like these people that have never coded before. They're shipping code for others to use, and then they are not careful about like the database security, and someone gets in and takes all everyone's data. Right, that's the other side of the spectrum. So both things are happening. So I think definitely both. And then how much overlap there is, even what if happens if you're using AI to find hacks and you're shipping web code, then like I think it gets just much worse.
I agree. Yeah, exactly. And I think this is a good segue to kind of introduce the Quint spec language to folks. So yeah, the stage is yours.
Yeah. Um, so let me start actually from I talked about type checking. So let me try this time to explain it like this, right? So in type checking, you already have like some definition of types. Some languages like even infer a lot of types, but you get that sense of correctness. You know that if you run the thing, the types won't break, right? If you have worked like first with languages with types and then had to work with languages without types, you kind of like know how frustrating it is to have like a type error when you're running something. Um, and now we are having tools. We are having people that are believing how that formal verification can just like automatically write correct code. I think that would be amazing. And I feel like there is a lot of room to explore there. And super excited about those kinds of solutions. But how much can actually AI know what correct means for your application? Right? They can maybe like I think with AI we get more of these like applications that don't crash. Right? You can prove that nothing can like use formal verification, can use other testing techniques to show that something doesn't crash. So you have software that doesn't crash. Maybe you have software that has no null pointer exceptions. You have software that doesn't have authorization problems of someone invading another person's account. But there are so many nuance in software behavior, how systems should behave, that AI will not be able to tell what is right and wrong. Right? Who knows what's right and wrong is the person building the application, is maybe even the business people beside the application that are like, oh, users should be able to do this, they should not be able to do that. In that case, this is the correct behavior and this is the incorrect behavior. There's so much judgment involved in that. Um, and I feel like there is really no way that we can just let go of that and like, oh no, AI is going to figure out what's right and wrong for me. Like depends so much on what the application is about, all of that like high level of decision making. Uh, so we need to define those things, right? We need to define what is right and wrong for us, and then we can leverage AI as much as possible to write correct things. And so I think this is exactly where Quint helps, right? Quint is not going to automatically make your code correct and formally verified. not even with AI, right? That's not the point. The point is, how can we lift this correctness decisions and present it to you like, okay, is this the behavior that's correct, or is that one? What do you have in mind? And then you define that, and then Quint like, okay, I got it. Now I'm going to check your application for these behaviors. So you're not checking for absence of crashes. You're not checking for underflows and overflows. There are other tools who do that, and that's very important. What we do is like checking if the behavior is correct. So in the realm of all of like formal verification tools, we are on that side of things where you define correct behavior. So we have way more focus on an emphasis on formal specification. How do you specify something properly? So how you define what correct means for your application without having to learn math again and write math, right? We have a very friendly syntax. You hopefully, if you have written any code before, you should be able to read Quint specs list. If you want to write them by hand, you have to learn a little bit of syntax, but AI can also write Quint for you. So you ask AI to write Quint, you should be able to read what AI wrote for you. And then, most of our time developing Quint was like putting into making it very friendly. And this is not just about the syntax, it's also about the tooling around Quint. And we call the specifications we write in Quint, they are formal specifications, but we also like to put emphasis on how they are executable specifications. You can take your spec, which is a state machine, again, and just like press run and get one path. And then you see like, oh, okay, this happened and then that happened. Oh, this is weird. This should not have happened. Let me like go and fix that. So you're basically specifying things in a level that you can execute and you can query and you can iterate.
Yes, thank you for such a thorough explanation. And I guess for the developer out there who's more accustomed to writing unit tests, writing integration tests, smoke tests, what have you, would you say that something like Quint might be a replacement for that, or like a more powerful replacement for that, or something that would more so complement all of that that's already in place?
I think complement because and also throughout the last few years we also explored a lot how to use this Quint specification to test code. So we can generate, there is a library we have out there, it's open source, called Quint Connect, that will help you connect your Quint spec with your actual code and test it. So you're going to like take your state machine, get a bunch of like random paths there or specific paths that reach some nice scenarios that you're interested about. Like, oh, I want a path where two users have the same item in their cart at checkout. Give me one scenario like that. And then Quint gives you that, and then you test it in your application. So we've been exploring a lot of that. I think this is a super strong way of testing, but we more and more for this year trying to make it so Quint can help you more on your existing testing. So you don't have to like add a whole new way of testing to your code base. So we are thinking about different ways in which Quint can help you testing, because I think testing is like super important. And it got even like an additional sort of value now, I think, with AI. I think tests, if you have high quality tests that are not just like AI slop, right? If you have actually been careful about the things you're testing, that's currently the best way to like define what correct behavior is in if you're I'm going to say if you're not using Quint, but like what people are using actually today a lot is like this kind of testing. And those are the strongest guardrails against AI introducing behavior you don't want and you didn't notice because maybe you are not checking the code so carefully, or maybe you tried reading the code, but you didn't notice that something bad was being introduced. If you have test guardrail in your behaviors in place, you have more protection against AI introducing bad behavior. So we want to also help combine that with Quint. How can Quint help you keep your tests actually locking the behaviors in place?
Excellent. Well said. And then
Mhm.
on the topic of AI, I guess, how do you see Quint helping AI driven code bases and workflows in today's age?
So I think there are, I want to say, three different entry points or ways Quint can help. Right. One of them is what I just mentioned about testing. Like, how can you be sure that you are testing different edge cases? You're not like testing just the same sort of behavior over and over, instead of having like a diverse set of behaviors that you're ensuring through your test suite. So that is one thing. And the other two things. One of them is, I think at the code review moment, uh, there's such big problem now of like people are calling like cognitive debt or comprehension debt of like no one like I didn't write this code, you didn't write this code. How can like we review it and make sure it's correct? And I really believe that just reading code is not going to be a permanent solution. I don't think we are good at reading code. Our brains are not wired that way, so we need something that we can like more tangible that we can execute. And I think like Quint, it's like more abstract than code, so it's less things for you to write and read, and the way you can execute it and query it, I think is very valuable for for code review. So we are exploring different things, but I think definitely there's like an entry point there where Quint can help you be more assertive when you're doing code reviews, understand better what are the new behaviors that the code is now going to have after you merge that PR, or did you remove any behaviors? Are you testing the behaviors that you are added or removed? So we are thinking a lot about that. And then maybe the most, I think it's the holy grail, is when you use Quint for design, right? And this has always been the case with other formal methods tooling. Like the whole story about TLA Plus is like the creator of TLA Plus, Leslie Lamport, has an article about who builds a building, like a construction building, without drawing a blueprint first. And so why would you write any software without writing a formal specification first? That's his point, right? So the idea of like you should write a spec before you go and write code has been there forever, but most of us are still not doing it. I think we're now doing a lot of plan mode with Cloud Code, with Codex. We go into plan mode and then we do a spec in a way. So we are getting into that, and I think like if we can fit formal specifications and executable specifications into that flow, that will be super interesting. And we also been experimenting with that. One of the first blog posts I've written about AI was last year. It was about this, like how we used Quint in the design phase and got good results. And then since then, I also been trying like different like plan mode with Quint, and it's interesting because it feels like you're working with a smarter engineer if you have Quint involved, because instead of asking like, oh, how should I write it this way or that way, is asking you like, oh, should the code behave like this? And it's like asking very good questions during this design phase. So I think there's definitely something there. However, this is a bigger change, I guess, in people's workflows. So might take longer for that to be widespread. So these are the three things we are thinking about currently.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think you're definitely going down the right avenues here. And just curious, are there skills available for people to plug into their clouds and codexes?
Yes. So we have this repository called Quint LLM Kit. And there we have everything basically we tried. Like in the past, we were using like a MCP server that had some examples in a knowledge base. Now it feels like with the new models, that's not so much necessary. The new models are already trained in more Quint examples, so you're not using that much. We have commands, etc. We are converting things into skills and polishing them. So you see, like there are even some PRs open in the repo now, and we are planning to launch like the official like skills that we've tried more pretty soon. But we have stuff there if you already want to start.
Awesome. And yeah, we'll definitely link that for folks to check out after the fact. And yeah, just interesting to kind of pick your brain about as well. You mentioned it at the start when you were describing it, where when AI model kind of produces code, you're kind of going through that code review process. Sometimes you don't recognize or know your way around the code because, I mean, for me, like when I look at it, I'm like, oh, like I didn't write this code. It didn't necessarily follow my way of coding, whether or not like I didn't set up the right um, cloud cloud parameters or whatnot. But do you feel the same sometimes when you're like, oh, this works, but I don't really know my way around this code base a lot?
Yeah, definitely. I imagine every developer that's trying to use AI has gone through this, and I feel like some people are more excited about it than others, and others are more concerned about it. Um, I do feel like that, and I feel like there is definitely some point in between let's read all code we ship ever and let's understand every single line, and like let's just vibe code everything. There's definitely some point there in between. And I was even talking to my team this morning, like so hard to determine where that line is. Like for front end code that I'm experimenting with, that's totally fine. Maybe to use AI and like experiment with new buttons until we get like something, okay, this is what we want. And then maybe at that point we need to be more careful. And how much testing has to do with this as well. Because if you have testing in place and you trust the testing, then maybe you don't have to look at the code in such detail. But for the core of Quint, the stuff that we are developing, there we definitely want to be aware of every single line. Uh, I actually have I think a quite unique experience with this. I just told you like everyone's feeling like this, but now I'm going to tell about something I think is very unique to my situation, where uh, I pretty much know all of the Quint code base. I think I've written like, I don't know at this point anymore because we now have a bigger team, but like until that last year, I think I've written like 90% of it. So I know every single thing there. So when then we start having more people contributing to it, even if not AI, we're not using AI heavily on Quint code at all, but like people contributing to new things, and I'm starting to realize, okay, now I don't know every single character on this code base anymore. I have to like get used to it, and it feels weird. So I had this experience even like without AI a little bit, and with AI, just the volume is so much bigger, right? So I think it's definitely very important that we understand how the application behaves, and then we don't have to understand every single line of code in most cases. I think there definitely are some cases where you do need to review every single line of code, but those are more rare, I think. And I also think that where there are applications where it's totally fine to vibe code things. It's just, I think the danger is people that are not technical, like they're not engineers, they don't know where to draw that line at all. So like I know that if I wrote, because I wrote like a little like note taker application with like some silly things that I just use personally. Every file stays on my computer, totally safe. I can vibe code it the way I want it. But if I was not technical, maybe I would like to like ship that and put files in a database, and then suddenly people's notes are exposed, and that's super bad. So knowing how to draw the line, I think, is a challenge, and we don't have a solution for that. So
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you have this, like coding was already, it already felt like a superpower like before AI. Now with AI, like everyone has like this magical alien tool, or whatever you want to call it. It's just like you can build anything to your heart's desire, right? But um yeah, to your point, like it that I personally think that's kind of where the line is, like where you mentioned, where you start to actually have underlying dependencies like databases or needing to store secrets or something like that. Like once that's there, if you kind of put that in a non-technical person's hands and you solely rely on AI to do it, these things are non-deterministic, right? So it's not going to spit out like a very hardened code base every time. It could cut corners if your PRD is too big, or you haven't split out the work items very well, or what have you. So yeah, it's very interesting what it's enabled, but at the same time, all these attack vectors are kind of still out there. And yeah, like if something really takes off, like you might run into problems. But I guess this is where something like Quint can come into play here. And you mentioned that you guys are planning on releasing some official skills very soon. But I'm just curious, is there anything else you might be able to share along the roadmap for Quint in 2026?
sure. Yeah, the skills is like just a small thing because we are just on the work of reviewing that now. But so I think I think you might already have this context, but for the people listening, I in my intro I mentioned that I worked for Informal Systems, and that's where I started working on Quint. But in April this year, we spun out as a different company. So we spun out of Informal Systems into Quint as a company, and I think that's kind of just interesting because um, this context is kind of interesting to mention and has a lot to do with our roadmap. The We always wanted to make some sort of like product around Quint, because my life's goal is just to get this to in the hands of like more software engineers, making sure that we can trust software more. I get really frustrated when I am not able to trust software. So that's like my main motivation. And the thing is, we are able to do so much more when we have like a business around it and a scalable thing that can maintain the team, that can enable us to like hire more, have more people involved. So it's really like all about like scaling Quint to the whole world, and we believe that making it as a business will be the most reliable way of doing that in the world. And so that's why we started like the business. And of course, like we've been trying for a while, but really AI have accelerated that a lot, because with AI we now can use AI to write specifications. They are really good. I think I failed to mention this during the conversation here, but AI can write specs. Like they are great at writing specs. They are language models. They are great at writing stuff in a new language. They are great at translating stuff from a language like Rust to another language like Quint. They are great at that. So AI is great at writing the specs, and that reduces the cost of getting started with a tool like Quint so much, which enables us to reach more people. And then also creates this whole new need for understanding and for trusting software that we are capable of solving. And so that's why we started the company. And then now we are working on bringing a product to people that can help them solve this problem in like very easy way. And if you remember the first thing I mentioned in this conversation was like, okay, I like this TLA plus tool, but I cannot convince my teammates to use it. And this has been the case since then, like or ever since, because people TLA Plus or Quint or even other formal methods within their organizations, usually there's like one person that's super excited about it, but they struggle to convince their teammates. So you want to build something that you are going to be excited to use, and you can show to your colleague. They will also be excited. They will get value quickly. And that's what we're doing. We're calling the product Quint Studio, which is just a command center for everything behavior oriented. So everything they've mentioned here, we are putting there. We are making sure it's easy and making sure it feels good to use. And that's going to scale within organizations. So we have a wait list for the product. It's not out yet. And we take a time to like do some like betas, have people give us feedback and stuff, because we really want this to feel and be really good. But that's what we are focused on new Quint Studio. But we are going to be releasing some stuff on the open source as well. Some exciting stuff too.
Amazing, amazing. Looking forward to seeing that come into the wild. And as we're kind of coming to time here, just wanted to get your perspective on things around just being a founder. You've went through that journey, I'm sure, as every founder has, and probably are still learning things as you go along. I mean, it's natural. But for the aspiring founders that are watching today, is there any advice you'd be willing to share with them, just to kind of kick them into gear?
Well, I feel like I'm in a position of getting more advice than being able to give any, but I'll try my best. Uh, I think I can mostly talk to people that would be passionate about something and want to make it a reality, because that's how I became a founder. Like I think there is a different kind of founder, maybe not better or worse, but like that just like has a passion for entrepreneurship and then looks for one idea, and then that's the idea that they're going to be entrepreneurs on. I always hated entrepreneurship. Like when I was in college, like, oh my God, I would never do that. And then I was doing Quint, and I really, really loved it. And I was like, so passionate. And I just wanted to do what's best for it. And then it was the time for it to be a company. And I was like, I'm not ready. I don't know. It's too much. And then people convinced me that this is what we should do. And I was like, okay, if it's the best for Quint, let's do it. Let's make a company. And it turns out it's not that hard, because I'm so passionate about this. And I feel like it's almost like the vision comes to me, because I know what I want people to do with Quint, and like to leverage it. I know what it can do for people. So it kind of like things that I definitely didn't think would be obvious can feel obvious now. So I can maybe give this like encouragement word of like, I'm not sure. I'm all at the beginning. It might be that it's super hard and like, yeah, I regret it. But for now, I'm feeling really good about this. So if you're passionate about an idea and you're scared about the founder life, it is tough, but I don't know. It's very rewarding as well, and it's so good to have great people working with me and having like the same passion and then exchanging ideas and being on this role where I can um, make decisions with them and for them and provide guidance and they come and then they do the things and it works and we are happy. So there's definitely a lot of rewarding things and I still have a long journey and a lot of things to learn ahead of me. But I'm glad I took I took the shot of the opportunity of doing this.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well said. And yeah, sometimes you just gotta take that leap of faith, take a risk, um, gamble in yourself, and it's very hard to compete with someone who's having fun and very passionate about what they're doing. So, yeah, I think that's like the overarching message here. But Gabriela, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to chat with us. Before we sign off, what's the best way for people to keep up to date with Quint, reach out to you if they have questions or just get started?
Well, we have the website. We have the wait list. As I said, I think the wait list is connected to our subscription, so you get some emails from like new blog posts and stuff. The best way probably is joining the Telegram channel we have. I'm there. I usually answer every single question there. You can also like email me or reach out on like LinkedIn and Twitter. But yeah, the Telegram channel is where most of the interaction happen. You can also like open issues and discussions on GitHub. Give us a star on GitHub. That's very helpful. And yeah, you can find every single resource on the website. Hopefully, if it's not there, you should let me know.
Amazing, amazing. And yeah, folks, all those resources will be linked in the podcast description below. So definitely give that a check out if it so interests you. But with that, just want to thank you again, Gabriela. I really enjoyed our conversation. I know our audience did too. And yeah, wishing you and the company best of luck going forward. And I'll be on the lookout when the studio's out.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I always enjoy these conversations a lot, and this one was very special.
Of course, my pleasure for hosting you. And yeah, with that, I just want to wish everybody a very happy Friday, happy weekend. Enjoy that FIFA while it's still here, and we will catch you back here for another great episode of DevNTell next week. Till then, have a good one, folks. Cheers.
Bye.